this missing of practice with staff members earlier. So the media has kind of blown it out of proportion, but things are still boiling in Steelerland. Billy, what do you think is going on in Steelerland?
Well, to hit on your first point, I think what the Steelers are doing right now are trying to cover their tracks. To be honest with you, because from the reports that I seen, they disciplined Antonio Brown. So I don't see why you would discipline somebody who had already okayed it to begin with. That don't make any sense to me. So the fact that they discipline him, showing me that Mike Tomlin don't really know what's going on around that organization. And now what they're doing, instead of trying to play hands into the media, they just trying to brush us up on the rug like, oh yeah, we already knew what's going on. But like I say, you don't punish somebody that you already knew was going to miss to begin with. Nobody even knew where he was. The head coach didn't know where he was. So obviously they did know where he was. Number two, that franchise, I think Mike Tomlin has officially lost control of the organization. Now, I wouldn't say that's totally on him, because I'm a firm proponent of you can't make grown men do what they don't want to do, you know. But on the flip side to that, if they're not listening to you, if they're starting not to listen to you, now it's time to move on from you. If you are Rooney, you know. So yeah, I mean, that organization is a mess right now. We know Le'Veon Bell probably is not going to come back until week 11, week 10 when he needs to come back. And you know, now this Antonio Brown situation is come up. It is really looking bad for the Steelers right now. And if they don't get a win on Monday night, it could really end really, really bad for them.
So do you think this is the beginning of the end of Mike Tomlin's tenure at Steelerland?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, you know, he has had the most 10-win seasons since, you know, and any coach and any span since he's been with the Steelers. But that hasn't equaled, you know, enough championships. So yeah, I think this is starting to become the end of it, because I think it's easier to get rid of a coach than it is to get rid of a player. You know, especially a player like Antonio Brown, who they just paid money to. You know, so I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Tomlin before it's the rest of these players.
So, kind of alluding of what you just said, Tomlin does have many 10-win seasons. Like I don't know how many he has in the last 10 years or so, but he has definitely been a staple of that Steelers land since Bill Cowher left. Do you think that the Steelers organization would just let a coach like that go? I mean, like, you can always draft a new player. You know, you can get a a Bryant that's on the free agent list, or like on, he hasn't signed on, like, for a team yet. I mean, there's always the draft. So, do you really truly think that they'll let Tomlin go before they'll let the star receiver go?
I think they will. And the Steelers have a rich history of not letting coaches go. You know, they've only had a few. Normally those coaches, they stay, until basically it's the end. So Tomlin does have that working for him. But what I'm looking at it from this standpoint is they also have a rich tradition over there of winning, and if he doesn't win, like I said the other day, winning cures all. If you're winning, people tend to have a little bit more patience with you, right? But when it doesn't seem like you have a grip of the team and you're losing, that could be time to change, and like I said, especially that tie in week 1, that's basically a loss. That was a division game. That's a loss. If they come out on Monday night and lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is very, very possible, the way Fitzpatrick's been slinging the ball, that is very possible that they can be 0-2-1. If you want to say 0-3, and that is not a good start to the season. I've never seen a team go 0-3 to start the season, and come back and win a division and or win a Super Bowl, go to the playoffs. So if I think it's just a combination of a multitude of things. Big Ben is mulling retirement every other week. Yep. Now you got Antonio Brown. This stuff has been happening with him, for the longest, and they still paid him even though he was going through his antics. Why? Because he produced on the field. Like I say, when you producing, people tend to overlook the stuff that you do. Antonio Brown keep getting his 120-some catches a year, 116 catches. That's why he's still a Steeler, and that's why they didn't want to let him go. That's why they went ahead and paid him. Now you got Le'Veon Bell not even showing up, offensive line, talking crap towards, Antonio Brown, Big Ben. Everybody's all in the media. Antonio Brown missed practice yesterday. Nobody knew where he was. Now they saying, hey, yeah, we knew who he was. He okayed it, but we still punished him. That don't make any sense to me. And then you add on top of that losing. Yeah, that's not going to fly well with the Rooney brothers at all because of that rich history that the Steelers have. So yeah, I believe they'll part ways with Tomlin before they do that with a player.
Well, let me just give you some facts here. So Pittsburgh Steelers have had 16 head coaches in their franchise career. I believe they were founded in 1940s ish. That is when they officially become the Steelers, if I do remember correctly here. I read this past night. 10 of the 16 coaches have finished their careers at Steelerland. They started their career there and they ended their career there. 10 of the 16. Since 1991, they've had 2 coaches. They've had Cowher.
Yeah, just Cowher and Tomlin, right?
Yep, Cowher and Mike Tomlin. And before that, they had the same coach for 23 years. I believe it was Chuck Noll.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was there for 23 years. So for you to make the statement that the Steelers will let the coach go before they'll let the player go, that speaks highly of what is going on in that organization. The head coach has 100% lost that team, and if they fire him, that means they pretty much have no faith in him to get that team back. So
yeah, and times has changed, Mike. You think about it, times have really changed, and this people has been calling for Tomlin job for a long time because a lot of people say. I remember watching an interview with James Harrison, and he was talking about the differences between Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. And he said Mike Tomlin is a good coach. He's a good rah-rah guy. He's for you. Obviously he played football. So normally those kind of guys are more player friendly. But he said that's not what you need in a business. He said when Bill Belichick used to walk in the room, everybody knew Bill was in the room. He had command of the team, and he said that's just something Tomlin don't have. And we've been talking about Tomlin, now for several years now. Like, when is he going to get it done? When is he going to get it done? When is he going to get it done? And now you see that he's not getting it done. Plus, it seems like he's losing control of the team. Now, like I say, I never put that on the coach because you are dealing with grown men, different personalities. You're not dealing with high school kids. You're not dealing with college kids.
Right.
You're dealing with grown men. So I don't fault him for it, but as the head coach, it's your job to keep the team. And when you can't keep the team, that's when it's time to go. Bill Cowher and Chuck Noll and all these guys, look at the ship that they ran. Guys really wanted to go play for these coaches, I was around during the Bill Cowher era. And, it never seemed like guys were getting out of their way. You never worried about contract issues and all of this other stuff. Ever since Tomlin has taken over, you starting to see this stuff. And it seems like every single year something else is coming out. Now the team is in shambles now. You got Antonio Brown on the sideline telling people on Twitter, trade. Like, even if he wasn't actually saying trade me, it speaks volume of how he actually felt just to say, all right, well, trade me and find out then. Le'Veon Bell is down there in Florida on the beach, riding jet skis, doing his EP premiere for his album that's about to come out. You know, he's not even worried about football. Tomlin, and this directly points to Tomlin because he's the head coach of the team. He's the captain of the ship. So in this day and age, with the salary cap, the way guys get paid, it's easier to get rid of that coach and find us another coach than it is to start over from square one and try to get new players in here.
And I definitely have to agree with you on that. And just to echo the point of the 0-3 start, this week is a must-win for the Steelers.
Must win.
There have only been 3 teams in the NFL to start 0-3 and make it to the playoffs. One of which was the 92 San Diego Chargers, then the 95 or 96 Detroit Lions, and then you had the Miami Dolphins that did it. The Buffalo Bills did it in 1998. So only 3 teams that started 0-3 have made it.
None in recent history.
Yeah, none. So I mean, I'm not for sure if we consider that tie a loss because like a tie is a tie, but you are still going to start 0-2-1 if you lose this week, and you can pretty much write the season off. I feel like at this point. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. The only reason why I would call that a tie, though, Mike, is only because it was a division game. And in the NFL, we know it's not about overall record as it is in, like, you know, basketball and all that other stuff where, you know, your overall record determines your seed. Yeah. In football, if you don't win your division, you're done. You know, we seen that year when Seattle, you know, went to the playoffs and they were 7-9. You know, as long as you win your division in football, you're good. Your record comes secondary, you know. Right. And the fact that tie just happened to be against the Browns, who was in that division, the AFC North, that's what makes it so tough, you know. So that's why I call it 0-3, you know. But I definitely think if they don't win this week, it's definitely over with for them because the Cincinnati Bengals are 2-0.
Yes.
Now, we don't know how the Bengals are going to be. We know the Bengals historically, as of late, have been pretty good in the regular season. It's in the playoffs where, you know, Andy Dalton and that team is 0-4 in the playoffs where they struggle at. But we've seen them never having a hard time getting to the playoffs. It's just winning that game. So if they lose this week, I'm definitely calling all bets off for the Steelers, you know, and that was my AFC North pick. I was definitely wrong on that, you know.
Well, I mean, you're definitely not wrong yet, but
yeah, not yet.
But the Steelers do travel to Tampa Bay this week on Monday night. Tampa Bay's playing really well. They're 2-0, but this is honestly the division that the Steelers could start 0-3 or 0-2-1 and still make a playoff push because the division is appearing to be really weak. I mean, yes, Cincinnati is looking really well. The Ravens will be, you know, they'll be their mediocre 8-8 team. So and the Browns of late have just been the Browns. Like, I mean, I hate
they've been the Browns.
I hate to say that because they are much improved. You know, they are a better team than what their last win in 2016. You know, teams.
Yeah, we can definitely be 2-0 right now. Honestly, you know, exactly. I hate to say coulda, woulda, and all that other stuff, but we definitely should be 2-0 right now if we just make 2 field goal kicks. You know.
Yeah, but this is definitely the division that the Steelers could start so bad and then make a quick run and make it to the playoffs. But
I definitely agree.
But Monday night will tell how the team responds to adversity. So
you know what? Just one quick thing on that. I will say this: it depends on if they lose on Monday night. It depends on how they lose, whether or not their season can be rectified. If they go out and get blown out, then you know definitely Tomlin is probably going to be going at the end of the year, and you know it's going to be time to look for next season. But if they come out, they play tough, you know, and they probably only lose by a touchdown, 3 points or something like that, 10 points, but it's been competitive, then I would say, yeah, they probably got a chance, especially with this division that they're in. But if they come out and get blown out, this season is over with, and the turmoil that's going on is going to prove to be too much going on. You know, when you got too many distractions, it's hard to worry about football. You know, so that's what I will say about that.
Okay, so give me a quick yes/no answer, real fast here. if the Steelers get embarrassed Monday night, does Tomlin have a job Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question that we have written down for today. Good old Willie Taggart at Florida State. Or Target, I'm sorry. How do you say his name? Is it Target?
Taggart.
Taggart. Okay, there you go. I wrote it down wrong, so I put Target because he has a target on his back, right?
Definitely got a target on his back for sure.
So I just want to ask you the blunt question. Does he have a job at Florida State at the end of the year?
That's such a tough question. I'm going to say yes, because only for the simple fact that everybody, the analysts, I think the university president and all these guys, I believe that they're looking at it as this was Jimbo's mess, and it's hard for, I guess, a coach to come in and try to change players that he didn't recruit. So for that reason and that reason only, I'm going to say he has a job. They're going to give him at least a year. They did give him a 5-year deal. I'm saying they at least give him another year or two maybe so he can get his guys in there. This recruiting class that we have coming in at Florida State that Taggart has recruited is some pretty good studs. And, even with the loss to Syracuse, a lot of those guys were tweeting on Twitter, like, I can't wait for next year. Like, I cannot wait. I'm still sticking with my pick. A lot of these guys reconfirmed that, hey, we're in for the long haul and we trust in Willie Taggart. So I think for that reason, he still keeps his job up until next year, because this is Jimbo's team. That's the way a lot of people are looking at it. This is Jimbo's team. Even on a lot of, the FSU pages on Twitter, a lot of the fans, that's what a lot of them are saying. This is Jimbo mess. Jimbo did this. Jimbo. And for me, Mike, I just don't understand. Jimbo kind of won with this team. Last year we went 7-6, and I think the only reason why we went 7-6 was because DeAndre Francois went down in the first game against Alabama. And from there, I just think Jimbo just didn't care, because James Blackman wasn't a good quarterback. Jimbo couldn't even call Jimbo couldn't even call his game for James Blackman, because James Blackman will be missing receivers right in front of his face. 3 yards in front of him, he couldn't hit receivers. So on 3rd and 10, we were having to run the ball because he can't trust in the quarterback. So, I hate Jimbo. I don't think Jimbo was a good coach, and I never thought he was a good coach, and I didn't want him to coach Florida State to begin with. But what Jimbo was a good recruiter, and he recruited good 4 and 5 star athletes. We were top 5 in the recruiting rankings every single year outside of this year, because he decided to mail it in. But we have plenty of talent on this team. So that's why I don't give Taggart a pass, because there's no way that we got all this talent on the team and we can't score double-digit points. We still have the athletes there, so I can only break that on the coaches that we're not scoring. Cam Akers had over 1,000 yards as a freshman last year. He can't even get 50 yards this year. And DeAndre Francois had over 3,000 yards his freshman season playing with Jimbo Fisher. He can't even get out of the pocket. So to me, I think it's all about scheme. Jimbo Fisher is a great offensive mind, and he knew how to get the most out of the guys as far as on that offensive side of the ball. And it just don't seem like Taggart is doing that for me. But to answer your question, yeah, I think he keeps his job after this year until he gets some of his people in there.
So just looking at his coaching past, he was at Western Kentucky for like a little while as a receiver coach, a quarterback coach, and then he was like I believe he was an offensive coordinator for like a little while as well. And then he got the job. Then he went to Stanford for like a little while, but then he got the head coaching job at Western Kentucky, and from there, it almost kind of seems like he job hops. He's there for 2 years. He's at South Florida for 3 years, and then he goes to Oregon for a year, and then he lands his quote-unquote dream job at Florida State. Why do you think Florida State is his dream job when he played at Western Kentucky? He coached at Western Kentucky. Like Western Kentucky gave him his coaching opportunity as a wide receiver coach, quarterback coach, coordinator and then eventually like a head coach for 2 years. Like, what makes you think that Florida State is his actual dream job, or is he just saying that to say that?
No, Florida State is definitely his dream job. If you do remember, he's actually from Florida, Bradenton, Florida, which is, only a couple hours from Tallahassee.
Right.
So, he's a Florida kid. So, when you grow up in Florida, there's only 3 teams that you care about. You're either a Florida State fan, you're either a Miami fan, you're a Florida fan. And it all depends on what part of Florida you're from, that take away, whether you're a Miami fan or an All This fan. So Florida State is his dream job because he's from Florida. He talked about it many times when he went to go play college ball. He wanted to play at Florida State for Bobby Bowden, but Bobby Bowden never recruited him. So he always talks about how he used to go to the FSU games when he was little. How he loved the stadium. So Florida State is his dream job because he grew up right down the road, basically from Tallahassee, and wanted to go to Florida State. So that's why Florida State is his dream job.
Okay, so I did not know he was from Florida. I should have looked in that a little bit more before I made that assumption. So
yeah, he's from Bradenton, Florida.
So do you think Florida State kind of gives him a pass this year and maybe next year, since he is a hometown kid, this is his dream job? Or do you think Florida State's straight to business and like next year, if you don't win, bye?
Oh yeah, that's definitely why they're going to give him a pass. Because he is a Florida guy. And they know that he can recruit. And he has the recruiting ties. All through Florida, and so does a lot of his coaching staff, and that's why he hired a lot of those guys. To go down to the Miamis, and get guys like a Dalvin Cook. As a matter of fact, the running back coach that's on the roster right now, or the wide receiver coach, I believe it is, he coached Dalvin Cook in high school, So he went and got a lot of those guys that can go down there to Miami Central, Miami Northwestern, and all these guys to recruit guys like that. So, yeah, that's why they're giving him a pass this year. They're giving him a pass because – and also we didn't do well last year. I think if Jimbo would have had a 10-2 season last year and he came in here and, stinking up the joint like he's doing right now, I think he'll probably be gone. But the fact that we struggled last year, these aren't his guys. He's a Florida guy. I think that's the reason it's going to buy him, 1 or 2 years for sure, and then I think they'll cut bait. If he doesn't do good by, his 3rd year, I think all bets are off.
Okay, so you're a big Florida State fan. We've kind of established that, like on the show, over and over and over. As a fan in you, do you want him back next year, or do you want him to win now and just kind of keep the tradition alive?
I want him to win now because – and I know that sounds every bit of a fan in me, but we're not just some normal organ. You
are the
school,
Florida State.
Yeah, we're Florida State. We're 4 years away, 4 years removed from a national championship, 2 years removed from an Orange Bowl win over Michigan. And like I said, if it wasn't from DeAndre Francois going down in the first game of the season last year and just completely derailed the whole season last year, I think we would have made another push for at least a New Year's Six bowl last year. Not a national championship because once we lost to Alabama, I think that was done, but another New Year's Six bowl championship. So to me, and like I say, we have the talent to do it. There's no reason why we should be putting up 7 points to Syracuse. There's no reason why we should be losing all the way into the fourth quarter against Sanford. To me, that's coaching. That has nothing to do with players. We still have the talent on that team. So, to me, I think it got everything to do with system. And, I was talking to a guy last night, and I talk to my brother all the time. We go back and forth, and he say the same thing I say. This offense has got to go because it's the type of players we have at Florida State aren't the type of guys that they recruit at Oregon, Right, so that maybe when you get your guys in there, yeah, you can run that Gulf Coast offense, that run the RPOs, the quick throws 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Those not the guys that we have at Florida State. So the reason why I put it on coaching is because it doesn't seem like he has any ability to make in-game adjustments. He'll see something not working, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to stick with this no matter what goes on. I'm not going to deviate from it. And to me, that's signs of a terrible coach. Bill Belichick, I hate him, but he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Why? Because he can make in-game adjustments. Nick Saban, he's another guy that I'm not too fond of. But what about Nick Saban? When it's time to make a change or when it's time to do something different because whatever he's been doing is not working, he makes those in-game adjustments. And to me, that's what makes you a good coach. And I don't see that happening from Willie Taggart. Every play is just drop back, throw the ball 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We're gonna fake the run here, and by the time he's getting hit, by the time he's even faking, the play action, he's already getting hit. Well, Willie, why don't you try to do some other things, to move your quarterback around? That's what Jimbo Fisher did. Jimbo Fisher excelled at that stuff. He made E.J. Manuel a first-round draft pick.
Yep.
E.J. Manuel.
Let's see where he's at now.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody probably even know who E.J. Manuel is right now. He 3 straight quarterbacks. He led to a first-round draft pick. Christian Ponder, E.J. Manuel, then Jameis Winston, which is probably the best of all of those. Jimbo Fisher wasn't a great coach, but I thought when something wasn't working, he knew how to change it up. He knew how to get stuff, how to make stuff different. In recent memory, the national championship game against Auburn, we was getting blowed out, at halftime. He came out, they made adjustments, and what happened in the second half? Willie Taggart has not made any adjustments. He just standing on the sideline, and he keeps calling his game plan no matter what, expecting it to work. And it just hasn't. The offense hasn't got going, and I think that's all on coaching and not on the players.
Okay, so before we get into the final topic of the day, a quick answer from you. What is a realistic expectation for the year for you guys finishing out? Are you making a bowl game? Are you not going to make a bowl game? What are your realistic expectations?
I don't think we make a bowl game this year. I think we go something like 5-7. Maybe 4-8. I just don't see. I just don't see many more wins on this schedule. I just don't. Maybe we win against Northern Illinois. They got us as a 10-point favorite, and I don't understand how that is. We've only scored double digits once this whole season, and it was against Sanford, and we trailed most of that game. So, then we got Louisville in Louisville, Miami in Miami. We play Wake Forest. That's always a tough game for us, no matter where, if it's home or away. Then we got Clemson. Then we got NC State, who's beaten us a lot of times, even when we were number 3 in the country, number 2 in the country. NC State has beaten us. That's always been a tough goal for us. Then we got Notre Dame in South Bend. Boston College, that's always a tough matchup, And then we end the game with Florida, who's a rival, So I just don't. I'm maybe 4-8. And I'm hoping we get 4 wins this year, honestly.
Well, hopefully it gets turned around here for you soon, because I know the passion of that fan base just talking to you, and hopefully you guys get in the right direction here pretty soon. So next year will be another, possible national championship season or playoff berth at least. So speaking of wins, your Cleveland Browns need a win. They have not had a win since 2016, I believe it was Christmas Eve. So the first time in almost 2 years, they are favored in a game. They're a 3-point favorite tonight versus the Jets. Jets versus Browns. Who do you got?
I got the Browns winning this one. We are at home. We are a 3-point favorite, and I think we should be a 3-point favorite because, like I said earlier, we should be 2-0. Going into this game here. I like the Browns just because I'm not a fan of Sam Darnold. I've never been. We seen what happened last week through 2 more interceptions. He's a high turnover guy. He's been that guy since USC. Nothing has changed. People glossed over in week 1, but as I said the other day, when you get 3 non-offensive touchdowns, that tends to help you out. Plus 100 yards on the ground rushing, 2 touchdowns from your running back. That tends to help out, especially when the team you're playing only got 17 points. So, I like the Browns. We have, I believe, the 10th or 11th ranked defense in the country. In all of the NFL right now. I'm looking for that defense to put some pressure on a rookie quarterback. So I like the Browns to win this game. I think that's pretty correct with the line.
Do you think the loss of Josh Gordon is going to hurt the Browns?
I do not, because he hasn't really played much this year to begin with. You know, he's been in and out of the lineup. So I think now them moving on from him, I think now that gives other guys chances to start making plays. And now we don't have to worry about Josh Gordon. Now, we're going to miss him because, you know, you just don't let a talent go like that and, you know, you just, okay, yeah, whatever. You know, Josh Gordon was great for the Browns, you know, when he was on the field. But I take my chances because he's probably not going to be on the field more than he's on the field. So I think, yeah, we're going to miss him for a little bit. But I think ultimately that gives other guys chances to step up or give the Browns an opportunity to go get a free agent.
Okay, say, and I watched, believe it was Pardon the Interruption last night, and their question that they brought up, like on this game, was which Sam Darnoldson was going to show up. Is it going to be the Week 1 Sam Darnoldson or Week 2 Sam Darnoldson? And looking at the games, it's the same. It's the same quarterback. It's just one game the defense played really well, and the next game the defense didn't play very well. Do you kind of agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, I didn't know why everybody was so high on this guy. Anyways, coming out of USC, I get it. He's a big kid. You know, he got a cannon for an arm. You know, I get all that, but I just never understood the hype for him. And, you know, when they won Week 1, everybody was just on the train. The Jets got their new franchise quarterback. You know, this is the reason why they went and got him. And I just didn't understand it. You got Matt Stafford threw 4 interceptions. Like, I don't think people really understood that. He threw 4 interceptions. You should win that game, you know? Yep. You also got a punt return for a touchdown. You got all the help that you're needed. You got your defense playing well, and your special teams is playing well. You should win this game, you know? So I definitely agree. You don't know which Sam Darnold is going to show up, you know? He got 3 touchdowns on the season, 3 interceptions on the season. You know, that's a pretty mediocre season for a guy that they were saying is the new franchise quarterback, you know, of the New York Jets. And oh, man, the Jets are back right now. So, yeah, I definitely agree. You don't know which one you're going to show up. If he gets good help from his defense, then, yeah, he's going to play well. And any quarterback should, you know, because there's no pressure now, you know. But when you're the guy that have to make throws, when you're the guy that have to go out there and throw the ball 40 times a game to win it, can he do that? I'm going to say no.
Okay, so versus the Lions, he won. He threw for 198 yards. Versus the Dolphins, they lost. He threw for 330 yards. Do you think that is how the Browns beat the Jets tonight, is by making him pass? Take away that running game?
I think so. I think, you know, the Jets don't really have a great running game either with Isaiah Croy. He only got, on the season, 22 carries for 137 yards. Not to mention, 100 of that was in, you know, the game against, 102 of that was in the game against the Lions. So when he doesn't get good production from, you know, the supporting cast, he tends to waver a little bit. So I think that defense is definitely going to put pressure on him. You know, that's definitely should be the main objective in this game. Put pressure on Sam Darnold, make him throw the ball to beat us. Because also he doesn't have great receivers. You know, so I am going to give him credit for that also. He doesn't have great receivers. So you make him and those receivers make plays, and I think that defense will do that tonight.
And I got to pretty much echo everything you said, but I picked against the Jets on that Monday night game, and their defense came out and played lights out and killed the Lions. What was it, 41-7 or whatever it was? But I don't think that's going to repeat itself. The Browns are going to win, and I even had the Browns covering the spread. I have them winning by 7 to 10 points. So Browns, go Browns!
Let's go, dog pound.
Dog pound, right? Well, Billy, as always, thank you for joining us. Just a reminder, guys, Billy is active on Twitter. Billy, what is your Twitter handle?
Grand Jefe, GRANXJEFE, all one word.
And it is in the description below, guys. So give that man a follow. Also follow him on his podcast, which is
the Unpopular Opinion Podcast. Just a quick note on that. I did switch hosting sites, so now on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I will be on now at at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so that's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and I go live on Spreaker. So if you follow the Unpopular Opinion Facebook page, you'll get that notification when I'm live. You can come join me live. Chat with me a little bit. That'd be appreciated. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays will be guest appearances, and when I do those will be on Anchor.
Alrighty, guys. So you heard it, and give that man a follow. Unpopular Opinion on every major podcast streaming application.
Correct.
Google, the Google Podcast, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify. I really like to listen to him on the Google Podcast because it gives me a alert every time he uploads something, and I get excited and I listen to it right away. Like I can't get enough of it. But as always, thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us on Sunday at 9:45 a.m. And just a reminder, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are moving to 1 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube Live. So thanks for joining us, guys, and have a nice day. Go Browns!
All right,